The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's ACUHO Conference and Expo Exhibitor webinar. Thank you for joining us. My name is Lori Sabata, and I will be serving as your technical producer for the broadcast today. As my first official duty, I'd like to take a quick tech check and make sure everyone can hear my voice and see the screen. You should be seeing on your screen the title slide, 2018 ACUHO Conference and Expo, and hopefully you see the little airplane zooming past on there, and you should be hearing my voice. If you can say yes to both of those things, I'd like to direct your attention to the control panel on your screen. There you should find what looks like a little, sort of like a cartoon hand. If you wouldn't mind clicking that, that lets me know that all is well on your end, and I do see a lot of raised hands, so thank you so much for doing that. Online and presenting with me today is Mary De Niro and Allison Jones, and I will be turning it over to Mary and Allison in just a few minutes. But first, I wanted to just talk for a few minutes about how the flow of the presentation is going to go today. We'll be taking some time, maybe 30 minutes or so, for some content and presentation by Mary and Allison. And then at the end, we will definitely have time for questions and answers. So how we'll handle that is we do have the audience on a listen-only mode today. So if you have a question, I'd like to once again have you take a look at your control panel. You should find a box there that says either chat or questions. You can go ahead and pull that up and type in any question that you have at any time. You don't have to wait until the end of the presentation to ask a question. If you think of something, go ahead and type that right in. I'll be monitoring that during the presentation, and at the end I'll go ahead and read those questions out, and Mary and Allison will help us get those questions answered. Also, I should mention you can also use, if at any time you should have any technical issues, suddenly the audio goes out or it seems like the slides aren't advancing, please feel free to message me as well using that chat box, and I'll attempt to assist you with any issues that you're having. I also wanted to mention that we are recording the presentation today, so if you have any colleagues who may have missed and they want to see the webinar, we'll be providing that YouTube link for you as well, so you'll be able to share that with anyone that you need to. So I know we have a lot to get through today, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it right over to Mary. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you, Lori, and thanks to everybody who's taking time out of their very busy schedule to attend this webinar. We are so excited to welcome you to Denver in what is less than 2 weeks from now. Of course, the staff here in Columbus has been preparing for this moment all year long. I also just want to say thanks to all of you who are exhibiting. The exhibit hall is an educational moment for our members. I know that they appreciate so much the information that you give them and the partnerships that are developed during the ACUHO conference. Allison has a whole slew of information on what to expect and hopefully to give you an insider's look at this year's conference. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Allison Jones.
Thanks, Mary. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. So like Mary and Lori have both said, we have lots of information to get through, so we're just going to go ahead and get started. So Denver, the Mile High City, I hope everyone is looking forward to joining us in a few short days. Mary and I were just discussing before this started how dry and how warm it is going to be in Denver, so we can't say enough. Make sure you hydrate before you come. We know standing those in is a lot of work. We get that, but please make sure that you are taking care of yourself and hydrating before you get there. It is going to be pretty dry in Denver. So there's, coming into your screen should be lots of photos that you see. Denver is certainly a beautiful backdrop for our annual conference, for our conference and expo, and we're very excited. We've been there about 4 times in our planning process, and it gets lovelier every time we go. So excited to welcome you all. And you'll also see some pictures in that very third row of our space, as well as the Sheraton, which is serving as our headquarter hotel. So today we're going to go through a few things. So we're going to talk about some of the numbers. We're going to do an overview of the sites and different transportation options for you. Getting acclimated to the convention center. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about anchor speakers because you all do know that your badge gives you access to all of our educational events that are not invitation only. So the only ones that we would encourage you not to attend would be any corporate connection session where a company is sharing proprietary information with a user group or something of that nature, and then our SHO pathway. We'll talk about some additional conference highlights, and then we'll talk about the 2019 exhibit booth presale. As Lori already said, if you have any general questions, please make sure you type those into the chat box, and we can address those at the end. And then if you have any specific questions that you don't want everyone to hear you ask, then just please feel free to email me. And if you don't know my email at this point in time, we've got a situation on our hands. All right, so by the numbers, I'm going to start off with one of our first slides being actually wrong. We're at 1236 of our delegates. So that is actually a higher number than we have had last year. And then also Orlando, if you were with us a couple of years ago, higher than Orlando conference. So we are very excited to welcome all delegates, as I'm sure you are all as well. So here are some interesting numbers for you. So in Denver, we will take over about 4,600 hotel rooms. We'll have 4 general sessions, 14 major receptions, and 236 ed sessions. The major receptions and the ed sessions you all are invited to as well. The receptions that maybe you would want to avoid are ones that are invitation only, and that's very clearly stated throughout our conference schedule in the app. So we'll have some pre-cons and symposia. Of those 1236 delegates, about 350 of them are presenting. 11 of our corporate folks are sponsoring, so we're grateful to them for that. We have 202 exhibit booths on the show floor. So just a few numbers for you. So now that you're in Denver, what do you do, right? So from the airport, there is a mass transit, which is pretty exciting. It's a light rail. It's a $9 one-way fee, and it will drop you off about a half a mile from the Denver Sheraton. And then once you're at that 16th Street drop-off, there's actually a shuttle, a bus. It's the 16th Street Mall shuttle, and that will take you for free up and down that 16th Street, which is where the Sheraton is located. And we will certainly talk about that in a little bit. Now, if you're not interested in mass transit, you can certainly take a taxi, and then certainly Lyft and Uber are available. There's a rental car, and then there is always Super Shuttle. So just some different ways to get to and from the airport. But if you're feeling adventurous and you're not carrying your exhibit booth with you, mass transit might be a nice opportunity. So an overview of our sites. So we're going to start with the Colorado Convention Center, and that is what's highlighted there in blue for you. And that is where actually all of our educational sessions will be. What will not be in the convention center are any of the evening receptions. Convention center, you're going to want to go to the Blue Bear, and there's a visual for you. You can see the Blue Bear from pretty much any direction you walk. You'll walk in those doors, and then you'll follow the very long corridor back. So to the back of the hall, you'll just continue to walk, and you'll follow the signs to the Belco Theater. We have 3 primary hotels that we're utilizing in Denver: the Sheraton, the Crowne Plaza, and the Embassy Suites. The Sheraton is serving as our headquarter hotel, and that is over a half a mile walk. So certainly make sure that you are switching out your shoes and being comfortable. And like I said earlier, all of our ed sessions will be in the convention center, and our receptions will be in the Sheraton. We're going to dive a little deeper. Oh, and this is the 16th Street bus that will take you from the Sheraton. You would just pop out there at Stout and walk to the convention center. That's about a 2-block walk if you wanted to do something like that. Then certainly follow to the ACUHO space, and we'll get a little more granular with that. So visual of the Blue Bear, following the signs of the Belco Theater. And then one of the things that's interesting this year that we've not done in years past is that our general sessions, so our main stage sessions, will actually be in a theater. So very exciting and a little different venue for us than we have done in years past. All right, so let's talk about our floor plan. So there we are at the Blue Bear once again, and you're gonna follow that red line, that red dotted line, back to the ACUHO space. There are some other folks that are in the front part of the building space during this time. So it's actually a group of attorneys. We'll see some other folks. They will be in suits, so they probably won't look as familiar as an ACUHO delegate, but there will certainly be some folks there as well. So this is a little bit more granular once you get through all of that into our space. So again, we talked about the general session in the Belco Theater. The breakout rooms, which again, this is if you wanted to attend any ed sessions, that we're in the 500, 600, and 700 wings. That's where all of our educational sessions will happen throughout the conference. It's also a nice visual once you get to the convention center and you're like, all right, I'm here at the Blue Bear, now what? Just continue to walk and look for those signs. Registration and the foundation are highlighted orange and the yellow. One of the great things about this space is that it is very, very central. Our hospitality lounge is right there behind registration in our engagement center. So our engagement center is a new endeavor, and we'll talk about that a little bit later throughout the presentation. So our SHO Pop experience and our business meeting will be in these two rooms. And then everyone's favorite and why we're all here is the Expo Hall. So if you're looking at the foundation box, the Expo Hall, there's an escalator that takes you up, and our Expo Hall is right there. So everything is very central. All right, so what do I do when I get there? There are going to be 3 major stations when you get to, once you follow that blue bear and that red dotted line back to our space. So we have exhibit registration, and that is also where we'll do the booth pre-sale for 2019. The front desk is ADA accessible if you would need that, and then certainly there's information assistance, which is where the local arrangements committee will be. But you will see Catherine and myself and our beloved red shirts at exhibitor registration, and that is the furthest registration station once you see ACUHO, our registration display. If there's a problem, if you need a badge printed, I know all of you will have paid by then, but if there is something that you need from us, look for Allison, look for Catherine, or a red shirt at Exhibitor Reg, and we can handle pretty much anything that you can throw at us. So, all right. So that's getting acclimated to the actual physical space, but now we're going to talk a little bit about the conference mobile app. And that's sponsored by our good friends at Niagara Conservation this year. So we've been using a mobile app for many of our face-to-face events for a few years now. Last year we did a little bit of an overhaul based on feedback we received from you all in the evaluation. So we have tried to make this easier to use, give you more information, and the search feature is a little bit more robust. You can also create your own individual appointments in this app. So if you know for instance, you want to specifically meet with the University of Denver while you're there, you can kind of schedule that in the app so that will pop up as a reminder for you. To get to the app, you just go to your app store on any platform, search for ACUHO events. It's also available in a web format through our conference web page, so you can use an iPad or your laptop or something like that. And then definitely if you are interested in using the My Schedule feature, you can just hit that login button once you get to schedule, and that will prompt you through how to set up a schedule. So we are excited about our mobile app this year. We are excited about the new opportunities. Lori, actually, who introduced us, did the lion's share of the work on creating this and making it more user-friendly for our delegates and exhibitors. So I know what you guys all care about are when do I need to be there and where do I need to go. So some important times to remember, our setup is Friday and Saturday. So Friday, July 6th from 3 to 6 p.m. Again, you'll check in at exhibitor registration, you'll get all your packets, take that escalator upstairs, and you can begin your setup. And then all day Saturday, so 9 to 5 on Saturday, July 7th. And then Saturday, we want to make sure that you all are aware that our opening keynote and Parthenon Awards, are awards probably one of the most prestigious of the association. These are we have 5 Parthenon winners this year, and these are secret, so these will be revealed at our the keynote and the awards ceremony. So that's really exciting for our folks. These folks have champions who have worked very hard to raise over $5,000 for them to be able to receive this award. So certainly, and our keynote will be wonderful as well. And then the opening reception is immediately following, and it is in the pre-function space outside of the exhibit hall. So we will not have the doors open to the exhibit hall, but it is in a lovely pre-function space outside of the exhibit hall. So we would love for you all to join us for that, and it is included in your exhibitor registrations. So the hall is open to the delegates starting on Sunday from 10 a.m. to 2:30, and then again on Monday from 9:30 to 1:30. And lunch is included during these days, and lunch is included for you all as well as the delegates, so it will be pretty good. You all have access to the hall 1 hour prior to the show open, and I know I've gotten that question a lot in the last week or so. So I know that's a big one out there. And then tear down. This is also a hot topic among exhibitors, is at 2 p.m. we need to allow AGS, our conference decorator, about 30 minutes to get some aisle carpet out of the way and to deliver your empties. But that does start following the close of the show on Monday, July 9th. We have that space until midnight. So 2 p.m. to midnight is really your time for tear down. Okay, some additional important information. We have a general services contractor. If you have not received emails from AGS Expo Services, you're one of the few. This is where you would utilize the service kit for any additional booth furnishings. So the booth does come with a 6-foot skirted table, 2 side chairs, and a waste paper basket. If you would want anything else in your booth, you would need to order it. We do not carpet the exhibit hall, but it is also not required. I will tell you that about 95% of the booths are carpeted, but that is certainly your choice. So the service kit, you can order additional furnishings as well as any material handling, drayage services, labor, and equipment rates. It's all in there for you. It is a massive document, but there's a really lovely table of contents that will help you get through that. So the link is on our website. It is also right here. And Steve Dunn is our event manager. Some of you who have exhibited with us in years past know Steve pretty well. So he is our event manager, and he will be on site with us. If you have a question that you think might be out of my scope, you can certainly feel free to email Steve directly. So ordering electric and internet, all of the electric and internet forms are in the service kit. Smart City is at the Denver Convention Center is the provider, and this is their contact information. Again, all of these forms are available. You would look under the Ancillary Services tab. Okay, lead retrieval. We will be offering lead retrieval services. Bartizan, it's their iLeads program product that we have used in the last couple of years. That link is also on our website. So there's some great information there for you. Okay, so we have gotten you there to Denver, to the convention center, checked into your hotel, you've set up and you've had your show. So as we have done for the last 10 years, we will do a booth pre-sale for our 2019 Conference and Expo. That Conference and Expo is June 22nd through the 25th, and it is in Toronto, Canada. And this is the first time in a very long time we have been international, so we're very excited to offer that. So our pre-sale will occur on Monday, and it will occur between 9 and 3 p.m., and it will happen at Exhibitor. So how does that work? It is not a free-for-all. It is actually very organized, although it can come across a little chaotic. We know exactly what we're doing. So the order of selection of the exhibitors to come out and purchase their booth for Toronto is based on priority of points with ACUHO. And priority points are done by a spend. So you have your association spend and your foundation spend. And for the association, 1 point equals $1. And for the foundation, there's a 1.5 multiplier per dollar spent with the foundation. And this is for the longevity of your membership with ACUHO or your experience with ACUHO, because some folks aren't members, although we can't understand why. But it does happen. So how do I know when to come? How do I know when my points are ready? A red shirt or an exhibit a member of our exhibits committee, which are all volunteers, will come by your booth to let you know it's time to select. If you're not at your booth or if you can't get out at that time, if there's no one that says it's your time, come on down, and then just come as soon as you can. And we do these in increments of 10 to 20. So we do try to hold things if we see a lot of folks who have not been able to come out yet. We do try to kind of hold that up so that we're going in some semblance of order. We certainly know that it's important that you all take care of yourselves. We do want you to eat, so we will take a break around the lunch hour. We know that's a pretty busy time for the exhibitors to interface with delegates as well. So we definitely will take a little bit of a break and allow you all to eat some lunch. So why should I participate? Certainly we will continue to sell booths throughout the year, but if you choose to participate in the pre-sale, you can lock into your 2018 rates. You can also select your booth before you leave Denver. So I think that's the biggest incentive that I could stress to you all, is that you can lock into this year's rates. And then you'll know exactly where you're going. Now, one thing I would like to make everyone aware of is that you must have to complete this booth purchase. It happens every year, and what happens is an exhibitor will come out and they'll say, this is a booth I want. They'll go through all the paperwork, and then they don't have the authorization to either select the booth or pay for the booth, or there's always a glitch. And then I feel like they've kind of spent some of the time away from their booth when they could have been in there talking to delegates. So I just want to make sure that if you are participating, you have the authorization to go ahead and to not only complete the process, but to also purchase. Okay, so going to Toronto, I know sometimes there are lots of unknowns with going to Toronto. Well, ACUHO is partnering with Beyond Borders. They're a logistics and consulting firm that is based in Toronto. Excuse me. Rob and Brian are the owner and the COO, and we have worked in tandem with them. They have over 30 years of experience. They actually used to work for Mendelsohn, which I know is a name you all probably recognize. Actually coming to our show. He will be in the exhibit hall back by the AGS desk. He will be there all day on Sunday. So if anyone has any questions, if anyone has anything they want to know more about, if you've never shipped to Canada, last time you shipped to Canada, things were a little intense, Brian is there to answer all of your questions. He is a wealth of knowledge. So we're very fortunate that he's able to join us. So he will be in the hall back by the AGS booth on Sunday, and then on Monday he will join us at the booth pre-sale down at exhibitor registration. So if you have any questions, he will be there to answer them for you. So I've tried to hit a couple of the highlights, the things that come up as a concern when people are shipping or exhibiting across the border. So it's so much more paperwork. We hear that all the time. So yes, there is some additional paperwork that you will need to complete. And if you really think about it, it's 2 additional forms. And Brian will help you walk through how needed when it is time to ship your booth. And so you won't have to do it at the pre-sale, but certainly as the time draws near, Brian will serve as kind of your ambassador to help make that happen. So one is your commercial invoice and one is your Canadian customs invoice. So yes, there is additional paperwork, but it is only 2 forms. So another thing we hear people say a lot is like, oh my gosh, it's so expensive when I ship across the border. And yes, there will be an additional cost. I want to be really clear and upfront with that. However, working with Beyond Borders, they have a range, and they have capped the highest fee at less than $1,000. So the minimum fee you would pay is $375, and then the maximum fee you would pay is $920, and this is all in US dollars. So when you're actually doing your Canadian customs invoice, the fees are based on what you put on that, and it is based on the value of what you're sending. It's not done on weight. It's not done on how many crates you're shipping. It's done on the value of what you are shipping. So those are some things I just want you to be aware of so that you can ask some questions of Brian when he is there. And yes, it does take a little advanced planning, and as we know, sometimes we're not always the best at that. But I would say if you want to have a successful show over the border, you would probably take an additional 6-week plan time prior to the show. So 6 weeks prior to the actual open of the show. And you know, the other thing we always hear is that, oh, I can't ship all of my stuff. Well, you can. So some things you can't ship to Canada are food, plants, drugs, weapons, the general common sense things that you probably wouldn't want to ship anyway. But I know that sometimes people like to bring their own snacks or food or plants, and that is not something that you can ship to Canada. So there are some restrictions. I'm assuming we'll have some questions about this, so we'll go ahead and keep going. So let's talk a little bit about, once we've exhausted all of our fun time in that exhibit hall, what else can we do at the conference? So we have some really exciting stuff happening. So from our main stage, we have 3 really great speakers. Our opening session, Sasanki speaks about South African justice and she's also a human rights activist. Christian, I can't pronounce his last name, Piccolini, I believe is how you say it. He is a former neo-Nazi who talks a lot of his life in his book Life After Hate. So he's actually, you could Google him and see some excerpts of his speaking, and it's actually really, really interesting. And then Rich Karlsgaard, who will close our conference, he's a publisher at Forbes magazine. So some really exciting speakers that kind of run the gamut of different topics and interest. additional notable speakers, and those are listed over there to the side. Ibram will be doing the Multicultural Institute as well as an educational session, speaking a lot about African American history. D.L. Stewart talks a lot about, she's doing 2 ed sessions. I would say this person is pretty dynamic. If you can get to one of their sessions, you certainly would want to do that. The International Symposium, we have Megan Madden over there, and then we will feature some different educational sessions regarding race, class, gender, and what that means in the law. So we have 350 individual presenters. That's huge. That's a lot for ACUHO. So we're very excited. We think that our program committee, under actually Lori's guidance, has done a pretty amazing job getting a range of topics and levels of interest for you all. So please, we don't want to limit you to the exhibit hall. Please take advantage of some of these pretty amazing sessions that'll be happening. All right, something new that we're doing at ACUHO is our engagement center, and this year is actually sponsored by OCM. So this is an opportunity for folks to come in and learn more about ACUHO. One of the things we stress to our corporate folks is that the exhibit hall is not the only place for you. We want you to be involved with our association as well. So whether that's at a face-to-face event, on a committee, on a any kind of group, we really want you to be involved and get to know our association a little bit better and see how that fits for you personally as well as your company. So the Engagement Center is a place where you can come and learn about what ACUHO is doing, some new things we have on the horizon, some rebrands of some tried and true opportunities that we have. So please join us there. Megan Brooker, as our Director of Membership, will have lots of fun events and things planned, as well as that the education and learning more about the association, and certainly our membership committee will be there as well. So please make sure you stop by there. Some other notable things that are, so connections. As most of you know, we did away with our program guide in its true sense last year. So our connections is a more enhanced version of what we did last year. So this is really and truly a great resource. It's our conference publication. It's only available to those folks attending the conference as well as our exhibitors. And there's lots of great educational resources, materials, great articles written by members. An article that we outsourced to many of our furniture vendors and asked them for different opinions and different. So you'll see that article. It's actually really quite exciting. So that will be there. It will be available at registration. One of the things we have that's new to us is our exhibitor map. So we have a registration booth at the entrance to our exhibit hall, as well as, of course, our entrance unit will have a registration booth, or an information booth, where we will be handing out these lovely, we're calling them exhibitor maps, but if you think about, and they're organized basically by category, so that will include your booth, your company name, as well as your booth number, and the hours and some additional things. But it's a really lovely piece that we are excited to introduce. And if you think about when you go to a mall or a shopping plaza, you are here, and it kind of lists everyone in that fashion based on topic. So we're excited about that. And then TPE. So many of you know the Placement Exchange, and the Placement Exchange is a partnership with several higher education associations, specifically ACUHO and NASPA. And that event typically takes place in March or precedes the NASPA annual conference. This year we're doing Summer TPE, which will precede the ACUHO Summer Conference. So certainly we encourage all of our exhibitors, if you are recruiting, you can certainly and that will wrap up, I think that wraps up on Friday of ACUHO. So for that we have I think we're over the estimated number of participants that we thought we would have. So excited to introduce that for those folks still searching for positions and jobs. Okay, that is all I have to tell you. What questions do you all have for me? Lori, is there anything out there?
Thank you, Allison. I do have a few questions.
Great.
One is going back to, you were going over a little bit about shipping to Toronto. Mm-hmm. Would you be able to explain a little bit more about shipping to Toronto and maybe the customs broker, how that works?
Sure. So anytime that you would do an event not in your home country, so for us, we're US, our headquarters are in the US, we are doing an event in Canada. So anytime we were shipping overseas, it is extremely helpful to have a customs broker. Beyond Borders is our customs broker. They have a combined the CEO have a combined 30 years experience in the business. They worked for Mendelssohn. One of the things they were a little frustrated about with Mendelssohn was the ridiculous pricing to ship internationally. And so that's one thing that they've been able to do, is really give us a range on pricing. And so, like I said a little earlier, a lot of times people think, oh, it's based on how much I ship. So if I'm a furniture vendor and I have beds and desks and I have 6 booths and I want to ship all this, it's going to cost me a small fortune. So Beyond Borders has been able to really limit that. So you could ship, an example would be University Loft. They typically have 6 booths, or Folio has typically 6 booths on our show floor. And if you've been in our exhibit hall, you know that it is a very, very full and robust booth. So people would think, oh my goodness, it's going to cost me so much to ship it. It's actually, the cap would be $920. And like I said, that number, that $920, is based on the value, not necessarily the poundage. So it's based on what you are listing as a value of your of the items you're shipping. And one of the great things about Brian, and one of the reasons we actually selected Beyond Borders, was because Brian is great at filling out this product and really working with the client and the customer to expedite this process. So if you're sitting here and you're looking at these forms and you're thinking, I don't know how to do this, I don't want to do this, this is an extra step. Brian can walk you through those to make them pretty easy and manageable. I hope that helps.
Yes.
And if you have any other questions, I can certainly, like I said, Brian will be on site both days of the actual show days, so that's Sunday and Monday, and he's available for questions.
Thank you. I have another question.
Sure.
Where will the exhibitor information be listed?
So all of the be listed in our conference mobile app, which we talked a little bit about. So that certainly has been revised for 2019 and more robust, easier to use. So a few weeks ago, I sent an email to all of our exhibitors. It actually came from our system. So if you logged in, you could update anything you wanted in your organizational record in our database. So you could put your logo in there, you could update your description. So that information all pulls into our mobile app. So anything that you've chosen to put in there, with the exception of your booth number's in there, but we went ahead and did that one for you. That is an opportunity for people to view you and your product. And then in our conference guide, the connections that we talked a little bit about, there is a listing of all of the exhibitors with your booth number. And then in our exhibitor map, we have a listing of all of the exhibitors with your booth number. And then of course on the ACUHO website, there is our floor plan, which is a visual map of the hall. And once you roll over those booths, it does give the company name as well as a description.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Just want to confirm that there will be Wi-Fi in the exhibit hall?
Absolutely, there will be Wi-Fi in the exhibit hall. And that is sponsored by HBO this year.
Wonderful. And then there is a question about if we'll be able to get a copy of the presentation as well as the recording after the meeting. Yes, we will provide a copy of the PowerPoint along with the recording after the meeting. I had a question about the educational sessions. Are those open only to delegates? What about the general sessions and receptions?
So your exhibitor badge gets you into anything at the conference with the exception of events that are invitation only. So so absolutely, as far as the educational sessions go, we certainly encourage you to attend those. I will say that the SHO pathway is restricted to SHOs only, so senior housing officers only. So so there wouldn't be any opportunity for an exhibitor to attend those sessions. Sessions, if you're interested in the content, many of those sessions, there is a hybrid for the general population. So I would suggest if there's something in that pathway that you're interested in, you can look and find that in the general education sessions. And we certainly want all of our exhibitors to attend as many of those as they can. And as far as receptions go, absolutely. There are a couple of receptions that are invitation only. Those are very clearly marked in the mobile app. But other than that, we welcome and encourage you to attend the receptions. We know how important networking outside of the exhibit hall is, and we want to be able to facilitate that for you.
Great, thank you. There's questions about the logos being displayed in the mobile app. The instructions didn't include recommended pixel dimensions for the logo to be displayed without being stretched. We can help with that. If there is a logo that's not being displayed properly, please let us know, and we can work with that logo to make sure that it appears correctly.
Thanks, Lori.
Yes, that would just be a quick email. Allison has her email there, and I would certainly assist with that as well. And I think that takes us to the end of the questions that we have for now. And obviously, Allison, you've provided your email address there. So if anyone happens to think of anything after the presentation, go ahead and email Allison, and we'd be glad to help you out with any questions that you have. So I would like to thank Allison and Mary for taking the time today to share that information. That was a lot of really good detailed information. We appreciate it. And I would also like to thank everyone who joined us today in the listening audience for taking the time to spend with us this afternoon. And I hope everyone has a great afternoon. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Lori. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.